And with more on the biggest trade in Senators franchise history, let's bring in TSN 1200 Ottawa radio host Ian Mendes. Ian, what did Erik Karlsson mean to the franchise, not just the franchise, but to the city as well?
You know what? This was, I think, the city right now feels like there's an absolute gut punch today. And this is the most dejected and disheartened I think I've ever seen the city. And this is me talking about the same city that lost Daniel Alfredsson 5 years ago. But I think the difference is, you know, Alfredsson, it was like a surprise, like one single shot. Nobody saw it coming. The Karlsson story, my goodness, we've been talking about this for 8 months, 9 months. This was like a death by 1,000 cuts. So you're talking about a guy that became the face of the franchise, became arguably the best defenseman in the game. And really, I think Karlsson's best attribute is he made Ottawa fans forget about the pain of losing Daniel Alfredsson. But what are we talking about today? The pain of losing another superstar. So I think that's where it really stings for Ottawa fans.
Ian, you host a sports radio show in Ottawa. Today must have been the most fascinating day in all your time hosting there. The reaction from fans, any of it positive?
No, you know, obviously with the exception of the interview we did with Pierre Dorion, no, it wasn't. And quite frankly, when you open up the phone lines, and I understand that, you know, social media and talk radio, you're going to attract the angry people, but I wasn't even getting the slightest text that was positive and optimistic. You're talking about a fan base, and I think if I was to make a comparison, guys, if you could go back to the Montreal Expos teams of those mid-90s, and they lost Marquise Grissom and Larry Walker and Moises Alou and John Wetland and, you know, Pedro Martinez, and on it went. At some point, the fan base just says uncle. At some point, you're just like, enough's enough. And when are we going to develop our own guys and have a superstar retire as a member of the Ottawa Senators? So when they're phoning the radio station today, they're not just angry about Karlsson. They're angry about Alfredsson. They're angry about Spezza. They're angry about Turris. They're angry about Danny Heatley and Zdeno Chara and Marian Hossa. Like, you can draw the line back for years and years. It feels like star players can't stick around Ottawa. And Karlsson's the latest example in that.
I did get one positive text from my cousin Eric in Ottawa. He said they are lowering parking prices this year.
Okay.
So.
Is that, Ian?
Yeah,
Ian,
there you go.
Is anyone going to show up to games? I guess that's my final question for you. Who's showing up this year?
This is going to be the interesting thing, guys, because when you consider when they went to the Eastern Conference Final a couple of years ago, they still had a hard time selling out games, and that became a bit of a storyline. And now you fast forward 18 months later, you've traded Erik Karlsson, you've said goodbye to Kyle Turris and Derek Brassard and some other really good players, and now you're featuring a roster that's going to be, you know, filled with young players. Your season ticket base is arguably the lowest it's ever been. I would wager to say opening night against the Chicago Blackhawks, I think it's October the 4th. If I had to ballpark it, I'll say 13,000, 14,000 people might be in the building that night. It's going to be tough. The one game that I will guarantee, guys, that will be a sellout, December 1st. It's a Saturday. It's the return of Erik Karlsson.
Ian Mendes, thank you so much for joining us. And I guess you got to head back to those phone lines now.
Yeah, you bet you guys, anytime.